No one wants to call you anyway.
Nobody likes talking to me. I don't even know why you're sitting in the same room as me.
You suck, first of all.
I'm so great.
I know. So we're getting started. My name is Beverley Theresa. Welcome to the Marketing Beat. I am a social media strategist based in Edmonton. I help businesses step up their social media marketing game, and I'm excited today to learn about SKAGs, single keyword ad groups, from...
Hi, I'm Ameet. I've got 9 years of experience in pay-per-click advertising, and I know a lot about SKAGs.
I just love the word SKAGs, and I like saying SKAGs.
Because it sounds like a dirty word. That's basically it.
So maybe we can talk about what a SKAG is, first of all.
A SKAG is an acronym for a single keyword ad group. So essentially what happens, or what the theory behind it is, you have one ad group and you have one keyword. So let's use Ameet is great, because it's so true.
Perfect.
So what we would essentially do is create an ad group around the term Ameet is great. We would use all the keyword types, and and then we would write ads specifically for that one keyword. So the headline would say something along the facts of Ameet is great. The description lines would present the benefits, but then also would continue to use the keyword Ameet is great. And then when we land them on a landing page, the same thing would happen with the sales copy, where everything would be relevant to Ameet or me being great.
Why is it so important?
I think they're important. There's several ways to go about creating a campaign, and Google suggests that we essentially do campaigns in a tightly themed group. So let's use tennis shoes as an example. So what they'll do is say, we want everything that's relevant to a tennis shoe to be in the ad group. So it would be like red tennis shoe, blue tennis shoe, leather tennis shoe, and then your ad copy would essentially just have different variations of the ads that would match the different keywords that you're using. And then the same thing what would happen with the landing page, except it would be centered around tennis shoes versus like a red one or a green one or a leather or whatever, right?
Okay, yeah.
And when I first started, that's basically essentially how we did things. And then eventually, I don't know who brought it up or if I dreamt of it or something. I honestly have no idea. I adopted the single keyword ad groups theory, where you have one keyword and you just use that one. And you do that because you're able to see which match type performs better, because surprisingly they do perform differently. But then you also get to increase your quality score, which also brings down how much you end up spending per keyword. So what ends up happening is if you get a 10 out of 10, you spend maybe 50 cents, which is essentially like a 25% discount on the keyword. But if you end up getting like maybe a 3, you might actually end up spending a whole $1 on that click. Because for Google, the only thing that they care about is literally the user experience. They don't care about the advertiser, they don't care about the brand, they only care about the person who's clicking through the ads. So they want to make sure that the ads that they're clicking through to are relevant to their search. So if you're willing to spend the $1 on that click, they'll take your money, but it might not be the best move for you. Sorry, I just saw the comment.
God. So like, when should people be using SKAGs versus other ways of keyword things?
Honestly, I set all of our campaigns now are set up with SKAGs. And every time we do an account build, that's exactly how we go about it. For me, I don't know, it's literally the only way to actually run a campaign. Like, I don't see the benefit of using a tightly themed group ever again. Because really, the reality, you're not spending more money anyways. In fact, you might actually end up spending less money. So there's really no benefit to doing tightly themed groups, or at least I don't think so.
So how do you implement them?
It's pretty simple, actually. actually really simple. I think this might be a shorter talk than usual. So you essentially create your ad group, and then there's 4 match types. Usually most marketers use about the 3. And we'll go over the keyword types in a little bit too, but we use the 4 match types and we put that keyword in 4 times essentially in the different variations. So we could do, let's say tennis shoes again. We would put tennis shoes into the ad group 4 times, one as a broad match, one as a broad match modifier, one as phrase, and then one as exact match. And then we would write that ad around tennis shoes essentially.
What's a broad match modifier?
Broad match modifier is, this is going to sound like it's a modified version of broad match.
Okay, so like adding another descriptive term maybe?
Should we just go over
Yes,
now? Okay,
go
so
over there.
I did a whole not a keyboard, but a whiteboard around that. So this is my little board of keyword types. So essentially, this is how each keyword type would perform. So we start off with broad match, which is essentially kind of like a free-for-all in a sense. So for this one, I'm using low-carb diet plan as the example. So what we would do is we would enter the key term just like that. So there would be no symbols, no nothing. It would just be low-carb diet plan. And then the searches that it would actually show up for would be carb-free foods, low-carb diet, low-calorie recipes, Indian diet plan, low-carbohydrate dietary plan. And the reason they do that is that they when I say they, I mean Google, they assume that all of this is relevant, right? So because we have diet plan here, Indian diet plan works. Because we've got carb in here, carb-free foods works. Low-carb diet, same thing. Low-carbohydrate dietary plan, same thing, because they know that carbs essentially mean carbohydrates. So they assume that if somebody's searching carbohydrates, that people actually want to be shown up for that key term. And then,
Wait, what's an Indian diet plan?
honestly, I don't know. The example I was going to put down was Mediterranean diet plan, but then I was like, I'm Indian. It should be Indian diet. So
Okay, thanks,
I was
Ameet.
trying to represent and make my mom proud. So hashtag hi mom. So the next one is broad match modifier. I just call it broad modified because it's easier to write. So for this one, we're going to use red purses as the example. And there's multiple ways to actually use this. So I'm going to show you the variations essentially. So we use the symbol, the plus sign in front of each keyword, right? And then these two would be separated. So there's an actual space in between here too. So it's not like a red or plus red plus keyword as one line. It's plus red space plus purses. Yes. So the searches that you would show up for in this would be red bag purses, because you're essentially separating these 2 keywords, right? But you're telling Google that what you want is these 2 keywords to be somewhat present. And then you would show up for reddish bags, red purses, and they do this because they take the misspellings and they also want to deliver somewhat relevant searches to the user. So what they do is that they know that purses and bags are essentially the same thing. They know that red and reddish is essentially the same thing. So they make the assumption that reddish bags is a keyword that you'll be okay to show up for. And then you can also take it a step further if you wanted to and do red without a plus sign and then do the modified on the purses. And what would happen is you would show up for colorful purses and women's purses, because they know that the keyword that you want to make sure that's in there is purses, so they'll actually just play around with the red part. So you have to be very careful about the keyword match types that you use.
I'm the video person.
Yeah, totally. And then the next one is phrase. So I'm using tennis shoes as the example, and we use the symbol, the quotation marks on both sides, obviously. So the searches that you would show up for here is red leather tennis shoes, buy tennis shoes on sale, and red tennis shoes. So essentially what phrase match does is it tells Google that we want tennis shoes in the query, but we also want it in this order. So there's no way that you would show up for shoes tennis it would always have to be tennis shoes. Whereas in broad match modifier, if you had the plus sign on both sides, and we had tennis shoes as the example, shoes tennis could show up as a query, and you would actually show up in broad match, but not in phrase, right? So it's essentially just like narrowing down the searches that you're going to show up for. I feel like everyone's being super creepy right now. And then the last one, the most aggravating one for everyone in the community these days, is exact match. So for this one, we're using shoes for men, and we put the hard bracket. Is that what the
I don't know.
Square bracket?
Half a square rectangle.
Let's call
Whatever.
them square brackets. The square brackets around the key term that we want. And this is essentially telling Google that this is exactly what we're looking for. But unfortunately, over the last couple of years, they've introduced something called close variance. So they've also taken the liberty to decide what is relevant for our business, which is incredibly frustrating. So in this case, shoes men, men's shoe, shoes for men would show up. Your ad would show up for these. So essentially, they're very, very close to what you're looking for, what you're saying that you want people to search for, but not exactly until about here. Back in the day, usually if you put shoes for men, all you would show up for was shoes for men. But now with close variance, they've taken the liberty to kind of figure out, some misspellings and then some synonyms along with like just relevant searches. So in this case, they know that we want mainly exclusively shoes for men, so they'll accept shoes men, men's shoes, and men's shoe as a query that they'll show your ad for. And then the way to combat all of this, if there's like certain keywords that you don't want to show up for, so let's say for tennis shoes you don't want to show up for red at all, what you would essentially do is actually go into a negative keyword list within Google AdWords and put red in there. And I usually just leave it as a broad keyword when I do it, and that way every time you search, or if every time somebody searched red tennis shoes and you don't sell red tennis shoes, you would never show up. So you would only show up for maybe like blue tennis shoes or green tennis shoes, leather tennis shoes, but if red was involved, your ad would not show.
What's a close variant?
Close variance is basically a similar keyword, right? So like for this, shoes for men, shoes men is very similar to shoes for men, right? Men's shoes is very similar for shoes to men. But in this case, they would never put women's shoes because that's not close. That's a completely different gender, and they're able to determine that. Or shoes for children, that would never show up either.
She says, I thought that only happens with broad match.
For
the close variance?
No, it's happening in exact now.
Okay.
So they did a bigger push in October 2018, September 2018, somewhere around that time frame, where they opened it up even more. So we actually, as marketers, actually have to be on top of the negative keyword list more, just because that's really what Google is forcing us to do, essentially. Yeah.
She says aces.
Aces?
For this.
Yeah, what's up? Yeah, does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, ask questions. We have about 12 minutes left.
I told you this one's going to be a short one.
So, I mean, maybe you can, like, after this, maybe you can take a picture of the board and then just put it on your stories or something.
Oh, yeah.
So then people can just screen cap it from there.
Yeah.
And then if they need you to re-explain it, they can watch our YouTube video next Tuesday.
Yes. I'm going to write negative here. That makes any sense.
No questions.
No questions? No one ever has any questions for me.
No one has questions for me either.
No, they always have questions for you because social media is like social media. Everyone knows social media.
Fuck cares about social media.
Everyone. Except me.
And me. Oh, just kidding.
I should have picked a more...
Lee Orr wants to know, in what situations do you use exact match? Is it really useful?
I use exact match in every situation. So the whole idea of single keyword ad groups is, sorry, I'm going to move over here. Let's say this is, sorry, I don't know.
Just stand there.
Okay. Let's say this, this is a bad pen. This is a good one. So let's say we're doing an ad group, and we want to do it for the keyword is marketing beat. In this case, what I usually do, it depends on how much time you actually have for an account. So if you have, if you really want to test it, then you add broad match. And if you have the time to expand that negative keyword list, you would add broad. So in this case, the first keyword I would put is marketing beat, right? Jesus. Beat. The second, I would do marketing beat as a broad match modified. But then at the same time, I would do it twice because there's two keywords, which means that I want to see marketing beat together as well. The fourth, we would do phrase match. And then the fifth, and then what I would do is literally let it run for a week, or even here. Let's do this. And then the ad copy would say marketing beat stuff. So I'm going to just write MB here, and then the landing page. Oh shit, LP would be marketing beat related as well.
And are those in different ad groups from Lee Orr? Lee Orr wants to know, sorry.
This is all in one ad group. So the purpose of a single keyword ad group is literally that we're only using one keyword, right? But we're using different variations of it in terms of keyword types. So what happens here is that we would show up in a broad match modifier, a phrase, and exact match. And then what we would do, or what I usually do, is give it at least a week, let it run, don't touch it, and then see how it performs. So sometimes what actually ends up happening is broad match modifier might not actually perform very well, but phrase outperforms it in terms of CTR. And that's just the way that people are searching, right? So in this case, marketing beat could be digital marketing beat for sale, I don't know. Something like that, if somebody typed that in, we would actually show up, right? But if somebody wrote, even in this case, we would actually show up for digital marketing beats for sale because there's keywords in front of it and there'll be keywords behind it, but not in between it, right? But sometimes when people are writing, they want marketing beat in that order, then it would actually work out. But in this case, if somebody wrote digital beat marketing, then it would only show up here. And that person may actually be only looking for a beat and they put, I don't know, digital marketing for no reason. So then this one wouldn't perform as well as the phrase match.
And then Matt wants to know, would it make sense from a campaign level to test these in individual ad groups, or is that the SKAG approach?
Like the keyword types?
He just said from a campaign
If he means
level.
from a keyword type, then that's the SKAG method essentially. You don't want to put one keyword in each group and then have like one for each group. So like in this case, you would end up having, for one keyword, you'd end up having 5 ad groups.
Yeah, that's what he meant, he said.
Yeah, it wouldn't make any sense because they're going to perform the way that they're going to perform. So the idea is that you just have marketing beat as one ad group, and then you just have the 5 keywords or the 4 keywords, or more often than not, people usually do 3. So they'll do 1 broad match modifier, 1 phrase, and 1 marketing beat, just because broad is just such a clusterfuck that people don't want to manage the negative keyword list for that. But the thing is that if you're actually actively in campaigns, or accounts, I mean, broad match, or not broad match, I always want to say broad match. Broad is actually a really great keyword match type to test, because according to a study done by, I was going to say Google, it was actually done by Bing, I believe it's about 40% of conversions are left on the table because people aren't using broad keyword match types. So it's actually a really great way to do some testing and see if you can actually increase conversions if you've got the time for it. So for one of the accounts, I actually did a test, and I think we landed at 13.6% in conversion rate. Well, actually, not conversion rate, increase in conversions. And that was just simply by adding broad in. But you do have to manage it more frequently.
He says, beautiful, thank you.
Of course.
We're at 5 minutes. Do you want to promo anything? Does anyone else have questions?
Yeah, last chance for questions. If not, slide into it.
It's more sad because you're just
I'm doing it by myself.
Want to come sit by me?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And we're literally at time. This is fantastic.
Yeah, so you can watch replays of Marketing Beat on our YouTube channel. Just look up Marketing Beat on YouTube. We post new videos there every Tuesday, and it's the edited down version, so you don't get any of us bantering back and forth, and you just get all the meaty pieces. We do Instagram Live.
Meaty pieces.
We do Instagram Lives every Wednesday at 10:30 Mountain Standard Time. Next week, I don't know what we're talking about next week.
Oh,
social media related.
We're so prepared.
I'll post it later in my stories. Yeah, it'll be social media related on my channel, so just go follow me. If you guys have a suggestion or you want me to cover something, slide into my DMs. If not, I'm just going to pick something because I'm so prepared. Yep.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, if anybody has any questions, let us know. We are always around on Instagram, Twitter, usually. We spend most of our days
not working and just sitting on social media.
Basically.
So yeah, Ameet knows a lot about SKAGs. So if you have a question about SKAGs, DM her.
I sure do. Okay. Anyways, we're done. Watch our video. Check the replay.
Come to our events.
Come to the events. Follow us everywhere.
That's all.
It's basically just us, like all about us.
All about you.
I'm amazing, that's why. Yeah, anyways, okay, bye.